Hey folks, Malforian here and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a quick look at the newly released patch 1.9.2 which came out today, overshadowed probably by the news of Wards and Wardens and the dev diary that we also had today, which I have done a video of already, so if you want to take a look at that, I'll link it in the description down below. A lot of interesting information in there, but this patch isn't especially big, but it has got some interesting changes in here, and especially around accolades, which I know have been a topic of discussion in the community about how the UI looks, and it looks like they've quickly remedied some of those issues and they're actually going to show it later in this post, so we're going to take a look at that as well. But yeah, we'll just quickly go through the actual patch note changes and then we'll go on to those accolade changes. So only one balance change, and then it's reduced aggressiveness of house feud AI family members starting schemes against rival house. So this is interesting. In our current campaign on the channel, the Sardinians, we actually had a house feud with Genoa, I think it is. I kind of thought this was working kind of as intended, but I guess they thought the aggressiveness is a little bit too high. I will say it is pretty high. They do go after a lot of your family, and I did actually see a comment on the subreddit saying somebody started a house feud and the other house actually managed to kill all his family and ended his game because they literally murdered every character in his dynasty or his house. So that is wild. I think that's pretty cool, but I do see how it could get a little bit annoying if you just want a little feud or no feud and they're just going nutso, just killing your whole house. So yeah, that's been reduced a little bit. And then we've got some interface changes. We're not going to go into this because there's a post further down showing off these changes, so we won't need to read them. There is a little bit of user modding here. I don't mod, as I always say, I don't mod, but we play amazing mods. So, you know, hopefully this is useful to mod makers, but I've no idea if I'm being honest. And there's a bunch of bug fixes here. Nothing too crazy, just a lot of little changes here and there. There was one that stood out to me that was pretty funny. Let me see if I can find it. It's about cannibals. Here we go. Yeah, fix cannibal feast being possible without any cannibal guests. So I guess it was just normal people turning up and then just going, I guess we'll eat some people, which is pretty funny to be honest. But that is fixed. That's the one that stood out to me as, oh yeah, that probably should be fixed on the next patch. So yeah, anyway, there's a list of little bug fixes here. I will, as always, link this in the description down below so you can take a look, see if there's any that particularly interest you. They are going to go into a little bit more detail about the accolade changes. As you can see, there's a little bit of an update to the UI, but the main points they're going to talk about is sorting knights and accolade types will now be at the top of the list instead of the bottom, which was always weird. When you created an accolade, it was always like loads of free space and then just like one person at the bottom, or whichever options you could choose for your two attributes would be at the bottom as well. It was just weird how it was laid out. I'm not even sure how it got this far, but anyway, that has been fixed. They'll now be at the top instead of the bottom, which just makes sense. The rank bars of an accolade will now be shown while you are creating one, so you know what you'll get. So again, they're going to show these bars. Before you had to, I think, hit the change icon and then you would see them. But even then, they wouldn't show like this. This is another one that they're going to get into a second. They've changed this UI so it actually shows you, amazingly, what it gives. Whereas before, these would all be collapsed down and you'd have to hover over each one and wait for the tooltip to load, or if you've got the click for tooltip, you'd have to click it for the tooltip to open. And instead now it'll show you the first rank and the last rank. So you can kind of see, you can figure out what the middle ones are. You know, they're going to be roughly in line with those numbers, obviously different at each rank. But you can now see these at a glance when you select one, which is fantastic. You haven't got to wait for the tooltips or anything like that. And then the different accolade types will now show which ones provide men-at-arms, as well as which accolade type as a secondary would void men-at-arms. So as you can see, this top one here, Skirmisher, will give you the special Skirmisher unit. So it's got the special Skirmisher icon here, and obviously if it's different ones, mounted horseman or something, it would obviously have the horseman icon there. So as with a lot of changes, it's just allowing information to be viewable immediately to you, rather than having to like dig through tooltips to find it. All fantastic changes. And then here we go, yeah, the create accolade, they're all in a row at the top. It now shows you the ranks if you hover over these, so you can see what you're going to get. But that's not all. Tooltip improved to show the first last ranks, as we've already seen up here, which we've already discussed. Primary secondary indicators now added to accolade ranks. View will jump to just create accolades after accolade creation, so it'll just automatically open it rather than having to then go into it. It is now possible to swap accolade types while creating an accolade. So again, just making the UI make much more sense than it was before, where it was kind of weird how some things worked in this UI. It was a little bit kind of thrown together in some ways, and they've gone through, given it a bit of polish, and now it looks like a good UI. So it does say there's more changes as well, but they're basically the major ones. They're all fantastic. I can't think anyone could complain about these. And that's it for the patch. As I say, just a really quick video. I just wanted people to know this patch had come out, and there are some good changes in here. Like I say, especially around the accolades and the house head, feuds going crazy are the major changes. There are some other little ones here, as I said, but enough that you want to be aware that this has come out. So yeah, we're going to leave the video here. If you're new here and you've just bumped into the channel, I cover Crusader Kings. I do narrative campaigns. We've got one going on with the Sardinians at the moment, where we're trying to take over the Mediterranean a little bit. And I also cover the news, dev diaries, the Wards and Wardens news that just came out today. And we'll be covering that all the way up to launch and then onto the Persia DLC afterwards. So if that's your kind of thing, hit subscribe. But we're going to leave it there for today, and I'll see you in the next one.